Ross, let's first start talking about what your role and the remit of your role is, please.
Yeah, I think it's probably the most pertinent question as well, that everybody understands what that role looks like. So I've came from a club where that's absolutely established within the workings of the club and has been for probably just over a decade now. The key thing to say, it's not just a scouting role. We've got a strong scouting department already. So I'm not the chief scout, I'm not the head of recruitment, and Andy Scoldham, we've got a strong head of recruitment. So my role is basically to oversee the development, evolution and day-to-day working of the football department and everything that encompasses. So scouting's a big part of that. Just generally how we run the football operation, our medical, our sports science, our academy, working with Stephen every day, making sure that basically we can build an absolutely excellent Rangers in every shape and form that we can. There's been a lot of good work done already. Thanks to Mark Allen for the work that he did in his time here to set some strong foundations there. And we've got a lot of work to do going forward. And I hope when I do this interview again in a couple of years, I hope I'm still saying the same. Because I think in a club of this size, we've got to be absolutely relentless in our pursuit of high standards and excellence as much as we can. And it's going to be important that on an ongoing basis, we're always looking at what's next for Rangers in every shape and format. You've
been in the role a couple of weeks now, so how have you found it and how did you find the club when you first came through the doors?
Yeah, it's been very warm, I must say. Everybody's been very welcoming. It's been great to be here the first couple of weeks. I met up with the guys in Porto at first, then I had another couple of days down south before I came back up to Glasgow. So I know the city well. I'm enjoying being back in the city. I know some of the people in the club well already. So now everybody's been really welcoming, really warm, and delighted to be here.
Do you feel like you inherited a strong structure within the club after Mark Allen had been here?
Yeah, there's a strong structure. The foundations are strong. We've got a long way to go in terms of how we continue to develop the various heads of department. You know, Craig in the academy. We've been having a lot of chats about how we continue to really develop the academy, which is already in a strong direction. The scouting and recruitment team, we've got a lot of work to do there to continue to build that up. But we've got good people in there already. We've got people who are hungry as well, who've got desire to make that department excellent. And we've already identified a couple of areas in medical and sports science that we want to up the upper levels in there and build on the existing people that we've got who are strong and make the provision as strong as we possibly can. I think physically within the building, there's been a lot of upgrade to the training centre already, and we've already earmarked where we can continue to improve that. There's some small things happening this week internally to make the environment here better, and there's some bigger things will be happening over the coming months as well. But it's certainly my ethos that I need to be relentless here to make sure that we achieve everything we want to achieve. Stephen and I are absolutely on the same page in that respect, as is Craig and I on the academy, and as are the board and I in terms of the general direction going forward. And that's important to me, that everybody's connected and everybody wants the same thing here.
We just touched on Stephen Gerrard for a second. He said he really missed having someone in that director of football, now sporting director role. So how quickly have you been able to establish a relationship with him?
Yeah, we get on well. Yeah, before I accepted the job, it was really important to me that I met Stephen. This wasn't going to work for me if there was a manager that I didn't think I could work with, and it wouldn't have worked for Stephen if there was a sporting director that he didn't think he could work with. I think we very quickly established that we had a lot of common goals, common aims, common ways of working. Personality is important, so I think we get on well. Obviously, relationships take a lot of time to form. We're not going to be best mates after a couple of weeks, but yeah, we get on really well. He's fantastic to work with, I've got to say that. He absolutely loves being here. His energy in the job's huge. His communication's strong, and if we're not together, we're normally on the text and on the phone together all the time. So he's good to work with. He's really open. He's got a similar communication style to myself, as I think we both quite like talking. Somebody from Liverpool and somebody from Scotland, I think talking's part of our nature, so we're enjoying that so far. And I think as well, it would be remiss of me not to say he's surrounded with an excellent team. He's chosen some excellent people around him, whether it's Mick, whether it's Jordan, whether it's Tom, whether it's Gary we're talking about, Scott in analysis. We've got some excellent people here working with Stephen, around Stephen, and that's it, and that's what I've found across the club as well. We've got a lot of really good people here, and hopefully in my leadership of the area we can continue to have even more excellent people with us.
We'll come back to the club in a second, but if we just talk about you for a little bit. You had been approached for this job before, so what made it the right time to join Rangers now?
Yeah, I hope that anybody that's worked with me in any of my previous roles would understand that one of my big qualities is loyalty, I hope. And when I was approached about this job, it was a couple of years ago, it was hugely exciting for me, flattering as well. There was a big opportunity at that moment in time to come and join the journey that the club was on at that time. But I felt I owed Southampton more at that time. I felt I owed them more time. That club's gone through a lot of change. It was a club that I had a huge affection for, both the people that I worked for and the people I worked with at the time. And I wasn't ready to leave that. But the challenge here was a big pull, and I think I've gone on record to say it was a hugely difficult decision for me to turn down at that time. And when it came around this time, it was a different set of circumstances, and it's something I couldn't turn it down a second time.
So you've mentioned loyalty there. Do you see a big future here? Do you have a big vision for what you want to achieve at Rangers?
Yeah, I certainly see a big future. I think it's everybody knows the size and magnitude of the club. Everybody also knows the journey that it's been on in recent times. And in the last couple of years, we've certainly saw the club lay a lot of strong foundations, like I said earlier. We ultimately have to make every area of this club excellent again. And one of my big roles in my role here as sporting director is to make sure that whether we're talking about the scouting team, or we're talking about women's football, or we're talking about the training centre that we're sitting here today, medical and sports science, we want everything here to be as good as it can possibly be. And I used the word relentless earlier. And every time we achieve something, we need to not pat ourselves in the back, but look and see what's next and build a really, really strong Rangers again in every shape and format.
You've had experience of working within different budgets at Falkirk, at Huddersfield, and then into the Premier League. So how do you think that's going to benefit you here?
Yeah, I think I've gone on record many times to say that I think the experience I had at Falkirk back at the start stood me in such great stead, because I got to experience so many areas of the club, a much smaller club of course, but I got such a broad remit there to understand the workings of a football club. And then the budgets at Watford, Huddersfield and Southampton have all been different sizes. But the development of my network has probably been the thing that's been more pertinent for me in my journey south of the border, to establish a strong network of contacts, a strong network of information. I know Glasgow, I know what Scottish football is, and I know what Rangers are, and hopefully I can bring all of those experiences into the mix and for the betterment of Rangers going forward.
You left Scotland in 2011, is that right?
I think so.
So you said you'd also spoken to different sporting directors about coming back up here. Do you feel that Scottish football is being viewed in a slightly different way at the moment down in England? Yeah,
I think probably within Scotland we can probably talk ourselves down more than they do south of the border. I think south of the border there's a huge respect for Scottish football, and there's certainly a huge respect for the size of what Rangers is. And when I discussed this opportunity with some of my counterparts in other clubs south of the border, they were certainly excited for me and understand the size of the club that I'm joining and the reasons why I'm joining it as well.
Do you think this is one of the most exciting times for Scottish football in recent times?
Yeah, I think it's a hugely exciting time for Scottish football. I think it's a hugely exciting time for Rangers. I think the ceiling's high in terms of what we can achieve. As I said, the foundations are strong, but we've got a long way to go to get the club to where we want it to be, and we can never stop that relentless approach to getting there.
So if we discuss this season, maybe the next 12 months, what are your immediate priorities here at Rangers?
So immediately to build those strong relationships inside the club, to really understand the inner workings of the club, to have some real solid plans in place as to how we're going to develop the club going forward in all of the different areas that I mentioned already over the next 12 months. We've got a January window which is imminent from a squad management point of view. I think Stephen's already gone on record to say that the squad's probably bigger than we'd want it to be. So in the short term, we certainly want to reduce the size of that squad. But we're Rangers, and if there's an opportunity that we see out there that Stephen thinks can enhance the quality of what he's got to work with, then we'll look at that as well.
How far ahead do you look? Do you work on a 2-year plan, a 3-year plan? What kind of system do you look at?
From a scouting and recruitment point of view, I think it's got to tie into how we manage the squad, how we manage our contracts, and we always try to look between 2 and 4 windows ahead. Theoretically, of course, in practice things can be different in different moments, but yeah, we're always trying to look 2 to 4 windows ahead if we can.
You touched on January there, so just to tell the fans, how does January look from your point of view?
Yeah, as I say, Stephen's been quite clear in that in terms of what his views are in the squad. He's really happy with the squad he's got. Obviously in a really strong direction at the moment on the pitch. We've got too many players in the group, so we want to reduce the size of that squad slightly. We'll always be looking at where we can enhance the squad, but that's not a priority for us. But if there is an opportunity that can make us better in the short term, then we'll look at it.
You're also in charge of the scouting structure here, and you mentioned in your media before developing an excellent scouting structure. So what does that look like, and how does it change from what's already in place?
Yeah, so we have to grow, basically. There's been a lot of good work done. Andy's leading a really good team of people there. There's no doubt about that. But we want to grow in all areas. So we want to have more scouts on the ground. We want to have a greater presence in Europe than we've got at this moment in time. We want to have more working on our video work. We want to have more working on our data work. And we want to bring all that together with a really clear vision and strategy as to 1, where we're looking, 2, how we're looking, and 3, what we're looking for. And then finally, how we interact with people, how we represent Rangers. The scouting and recruitment team are often the first touch point that many people across the world will have with Rangers. And I want to make sure that every interaction that anybody has with this club represents the standard that we want in this club. So there's a long way to go in terms of scouting, but there's also a lot of good work being done.
How quickly do you anticipate that happening, and how much are you responsible for that, and how much is Andy Scolding responsible for that?
Yes, ultimately the leadership of the football department is my responsibility, but also it's important for me to allow the people that's in charge of departments to run them. And Andy's our head of scouting and recruitment. He's doing a really, really good job. He's a hard-working guy, and he'll lead that on a day-to-day basis for sure. And I'll lead and support that in terms of the type of people we want to bring here, the strategy that we want to work to, and our ways of working. I'll be really connected to it. It's been a big part of my background. I've got a strong network behind me as well of agents and people that want to filter information into me all the time, and I'll be really, really open book to make sure that Andy and the guys can access that information as well.
And you spoke about the medical department wanting to make changes there. What would you like to change there?
Yeah, not so much changes. I think again we've got some really, really strong people within our medical department at the moment. We've earmarked where we can make that even better, where we can bring some additional expertise. Mm-hmm. Again, the doctor and I have had some chats on that. Jordan and I have had some chats on that. We just see so many opportunities that we can build on some really strong foundations, make the club even stronger, bring some even higher skill sets to the club as much as we possibly can, and to build on the already excellent people that we've got in the club.
And there's been some big changes here at the training ground and at the stadium in terms of infrastructure. How would you like to develop that and move that on? Yeah, so we're in an international break at the moment, so it was a good time to almost have a sense check in where we are with all of that. So we've got some minor training ground alterations and adjustments being done this week, just to make that environment even better again. And then as we move across 6 to 12 months, we've got some bigger picture things we want to do. Some things will start in the summer, some things will start after that. But there's a huge desire from the board, from myself, from Stephen, from Craig Mulholland, to make sure that in all areas of the training centre here, we're never stopping pushing the boundaries. We're never stopping looking to see where we can improve this place. In the same way we want to improve all the departments, and that will definitely happen. At your previous club, Southampton, they had a great record of bringing through youth talent. So how important is that to Rangers and to be able to do that here? Yeah, it's crucial. I think we've got a strong academy. We've got strong leadership. We've got a strong coaching group in there already. We'll constantly evolve that as we move forward as well. Craig and I have had a lot of discussions on that already. We've also got a lot of good players. I was aware of some of them when I was south of the border, and I'm even more aware of more of them now. They're playing in some excellent competitions at the top end of the academy just now. We've got a strong idea as to where we want that to go going forward, and again, we can never stop in our pursuit of that. We have to be creative in how we develop our talent. It's something that we're big on in Southampton. There's not one way to develop all of our players. We'll have many different approaches to that, and it's something that Craig subscribes to as well. But to answer your question directly, it's got to form part of our journey. Where the biggest success factor of any academy is how many players we can get towards the first team and the quality of those. And I know that that's a vision shared by Stephen as well, that if players are good enough, he wants to be a manager that gives those players a chance. Do you think the academy's in a good place to make more of an impact within Europe and to be more recognised within Europe? Yeah, I think so. I think the work the academy's already doing is being recognised in Europe already. But ultimately, like I said, the success of that will be judged on the quality of the players that we produce, get to the top end of the game as much as we can. And I think the direction of travel for that is good. I think it's recognised in Europe as an academy that's doing well. The impact that we're making in things like the Youth League are strong. But we have to get players towards the first team when the time's right and if they're good enough. And how do you make sure that Rangers keeps hold of its best young talent and they don't see better opportunities elsewhere? Yeah, I think it's almost just repeating what I've just said already. I think we've got to make sure there's not a reason to leave the club. We've got to make sure that everything that we build internally here is something that the players and the parents and their agents recognise as excellent, and there isn't a carrot elsewhere that
can make another club more attractive than ours. And ultimately, opportunity is a big part of what we can offer as well as we go along the journey. But retaining our best players here at Rangers is crucial to us.
And moving on to the women's team, there's been increased investment from the board towards the start of 2020. So how do you see the women's programme here developing?
Yeah, I think very similar to how I see the academy, really, that there's foundations there. It's a new project for us, but it needs to be very important. It needs to be something that we consider as part of our wider football structure, and it's something that, and it is. We want to develop that to be one of the best programmes in Scotland. Again, we're not going to achieve that overnight, but that journey's already began. Craig Mulholland and I, Craig leads our women's football side as well. We had some chats on that over the weekend in terms of how we take that forward in the short term. Recruitment of players to that will be important too. The quality of the staff that we've got working there will be important too. But in the same way that we talk about the academy, we want our women's section to be up there with the best in Europe, but it won't happen overnight.
So what are the priorities there with them? Because they finished their season this weekend, so you've got quite a good chunk of time to maybe make some impact there. Yeah,
so priorities there is basically making some decisions around the players that we've already got, recruitment of players going forward, recruitment of some staff, make sure that we up our level of people around the women's team. That's important for us, and really ensure that that group of people, players and staff, are absolutely ready for next season when the women's calendar restarts. But so there's a lot of work to be done there, and that's why we met before the game at the weekend to talk about that.